Hello, everybody. We're back with another movie rewatch. This week, we're talking about the comedy classic, the comedy hit, The Change Up, starring Jason Bateman and Ryan Reynolds. Since a big part of this movie is that the dad has twins, I thought it was only fitting that we brought in a twins expert. So I'm joined by Cameron Remy, creator of DadTwinTips. Check him out on socials. Let me know what you think. If you've been enjoying these movie rewatches, people seem to be so far, but would love to hear from you. successfulworkingparents@gmail.com. I appreciate you listening. If you enjoy this conversation, please click the follow button, leave me a rating. That means the world to me. Best way to help grow the podcast. Anyway, on to the show. Welcome back to the Successful Working Parents podcast. Today, we are talking about the 2011 hit, The Change Up. My guest today is Cameron Remy. Cameron, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for joining all the way from Australia, too. I think you must be the furthest away a guest has been on the show. So congratulations on that.
No worries, salute.
If you would give yourself a quick introduction for the fans.
My name's Cameron. I created a online presence, I'd say, called DadTwinTips. I had twins, which I thought it would be interesting to start recording. And then my page sort of blew up, and it sort of blew up when I started just doing organic, real life situations with my kids. So I'd just film how funny the situations that we could get ourselves in with twins, and that's sort of what resonated with a whole lot of people, and they started following me and loving what we did. So that's me as an online presence, which wasn't really a full-time job. It was just not even a side hustle, just me filming my kids so I have something to look back on, which turned into be a great online presence. And me myself, I'm a motor dealer, own a car yard. Wife's currently studying to be an occupational therapist. So it's just a one-income family. So in amongst all that, being a twin parent, running a business, being a dad, twin parent, it's full on. But that's me.
Awesome. Well, this movie certainly has a lot of twin content. So, excited to hear your thoughts on that. Have you seen this movie before?
I have. I've actually seen it a couple of times back in the day, because anything with twins, I mean, there's not too many movies. If you go way back in days, there's not really too many twin movies that people can relate to. So I guess that's something to definitely be relatable with a lot of things that went on in that movie, for sure.
Yeah, I mean this movie cracked me up. It's pretty interesting. So just kind of diving into it, I think it sets the scene pretty well, right? We jump right into the movie. We have the chaos of the twins at night. It's kind of the opening scene. Now, so you have twins. Those are your first kids as well, right?
They're my first and last. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I have a 14-month-old. Obviously, it's very hard when you get started. I couldn't imagine if there was two and you never did it before. So like, what's that experience like?
It's exactly the same as your situation. You're never prepared to be a parent, right? So far out. If anyone plans to be a twin parent, then I don't know what situation you're in, because you can never plan even to be a parent. So for me, having twins, we just went into it full throttle and gave it our best shot, and it's just so busy and full on that if you don't have each other's support, if you don't have a good support or teamwork, is, as they say, teamwork makes a dream work. So to dive straight into being extremely tired and working with each other to make sure life's good is a very, very busy situation that most twin parents will understand.
So how accurate is this opening scene?
Extremely accurate, 100% accurate.
Probably shit in the mouth too,
accurate and more, because it's even just down to it's your turn. That's a big thing that you got to assess or work out amongst your wife or your husband, of who's going to get up and do the midnight run. And it's hard. I mean, triplets would be even harder. I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. Triplets is a different situation. Twins, at least you got two hands, two bottles, double burp, whatever you need to do. So everything in that morning scene would, if you want to prepare yourself to be a twin parent or see what it's like, that's a perfect outline of what it is. Definitely.
How about the poop directly into the mouth? Is that pretty accurate as well?
Probably not the poop in the mouth, but I did lift up my kid's legs once from the side, and yes, it happens. And that was in hospital when they were only just born, and that is genuinely what happens. I'm just glad I wasn't in the line of fire, because if I was, it would have got me directly exactly where he did. So that is bang on to the T. What happens?
Yeah, it could be
Have you
pretty.
experienced that with yours?
I had never in the mouth, but I've seen the projectile poo hit the wall before, so I get it.
It
Luckily, I
happens.
dodged it. Okay, so we have this set up. We got the twins, and then they also do a pretty good job of just like this is like kind of like the way the average married suburban dude's life is, right? I feel like that was pretty accurate as well. He's going to work, he's busy, he's forgetting like date night and stuff like that. Like they kind of just set the stage like this is just like a typical dude. And then we have on the flip side Mitch, who's uh, not a typical dude. He I really like the joke when he was like, "Hey, the adults are firing up a workday over here, buddy," because he's just like living a totally different life. I guess they've been best friends since they're in the third grade, but they have pretty opposite work days or life days.
Exactly. Well,
So
sorry, go on.
no, go ahead.
I, funnily enough, had my best mate is sort of like that. He
I was
ended up.
gonna ask you if you had a friend like this. That was
I
one of my
do. My
questions.
best friend since I was doing acting school, way back in school, I did like acting school outside of school from 2010. So we've been mates for over 20 years, and he lived that type of life 100%. So he would that's his life. And then I got married and I had kids, and he was sort of nearly stuck in the rut, I'd say, of that same situation of just having fun and going to work, which he came to the realization later. So it does age pretty well, really, because he ended up to get out of the situation and the constant rat race of just going to work and having fun and partying. He moved over to Canada and found his forever wife. So he got out of that rat race. So it would probably say that it doesn't last forever. It does become an old situation, but
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it has a happy ending. I would say, me personally, I wasn't living a life like Mitch, but I was like the last of my friends to get married and have kids. Like I didn't meet my wife until I was almost 31. So if anything, I kind of related in the opposite way of having my friends that had moved to the burbs and had kids, and I was kind of just in Manhattan. Again, not quite a Mitch status, but I wasn't picking up girls at Lamaze classes, but I was living a single life in the city in my 20s for sure. Um, okay, so we have this set up. They hang out. Of course, they're kind of pining for the other's life a little bit, or they seem to be, and then they go to this fountain to take a piss, and wouldn't you know it, it's a magical fountain that switches their bodies. And now we're kind of it's a classic like Freaky Friday kind of a situation, but it's a little bit of a twist on that typical idea. So they wake up in each other's bodies, and now we're kind of off to the races here. Now, at first blush, like whose life would you have rather had?
rather had or right now
Yeah,
had. Rather's an interesting thing, because I think I had the same situation as you, where I feel I feel that if you don't have a bit of fun when you're a kid and I don't know, run a bit of a muck and enjoy life for a bit. I mean, it's all different for whatever situation you're in. But I had a bit of a, I don't know, fun life. I traveled the world and I did what I did. So I was ready to lock down and have kids. We were sort of ready for that situation. We weren't ready for twins. We were ready to have two, 3 years after each other or something. But
yeah,
I feel that if you don't have that situation, it could probably burden you that you didn't get to go and have a bit of fun. And if you've got a tied down life and you had kids when you were young, that can be a hard thing, I think, to lock into that parent situation, because it changes everything. Parenting, you lose who you are as a parent. It's hard to explain, especially not especially for a man. I feel because we've got to go to work and we've got to support the family. Your life changes. You don't get to go and do all the things that you want to, or go down the pub if you want to, or go down to play a game of golf on a weekend. You've really got to think about your kids. So your whole life sort of becomes about them. And it happens instantaneous. So if you're not ready for it, I believe I was ready for it. So I was ready to give up the fun life, because I knew my wife for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Forget how long, sorry. 2 years before
take
we
your
got married.
time.
So
Take
we
your
had
time.
some fun and we explored, but I'd definitely say I'm very happy to be a parent, because I'm committed 100% to my kids. making their life as much as fun as possible, which is why I created Dad Twin Tips, and hopefully it resonates with other parents seeing the things that everyday parents do, because it's all about your kids when you have kids, I believe. As much as you can see them, you can count, 150 weekends that you're going to have before they get older and they don't really want to catch up with you anymore. So try to make the most of it. So I committed 100% to being a parent. So that's why I enjoy it.
Yeah. And I think this movie kind of highlights like you can get caught up in your career and
Yes.
forget about the family stuff and how easy that can slip aside for chasing other goals. But we'll get to the moral of the story in a little while.
Yeah.
Um,
But
but yeah,
that is a definite thing as a what I was sort of trying to get to. When you're working, you're trying to. It's hard because when you're younger, you're trying to work out who you are and you're trying to have fun and you have kids. But the work life balance is a big thing that I think is very present in today's world. People would prefer to go to work 5 days a week and then instead of 6 days a week and spend their time with their family and earn a little bit less. So I feel like the change is happening amongst workers, families, where they actually want to spend more time with their family than just working to get money. And because sometimes it doesn't work out at the end, and you have a look at what your parents have done, and they worked XYZ. I know my dad worked nearly 7 days a week, so we barely saw him. So that resonate, even though he's still around, we love him to pieces. But that's we didn't see him as much as we wish we could, and that's a big thing I think with parents these days wanting to spend more time, I believe, with their kids than not
yeah,
so, like the
yeah.
older
No,
generation.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah,
So I think that I feel like Jason Bateman is doing a good job of acting like Ryan Reynolds in
yeah,
this because we're supposed to believe that they're in each other's bodies, and I thought he nailed it more than I think Ryan Reynolds was still kind of just being himself. But
yeah.
I thought Jason Bateman did a great job. Now, if you have a friend like Mitch and he's suddenly in your body and now has to like be you, I feel like Jason Bateman should be more worried. Like he doesn't like I wouldn't let him go into my house. I wouldn't let him go to my office or like he trusts him to just pick up his kids. I think that it's like this guy's clearly not going to do any of those things.
Mate, that's you, you gotta have a pretty good friendship to have your your best mate sleep beside your wife and going to see your business colleagues if you're in that situation. So that's a pretty big transition.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know if
you got
I
to
understand
really trust the
that the
guy.
other way. I think I want to go back into the party life as long as I know that I was going to switch back and go into the parenting life.
Yeah, I mean, if you're living like Mitch, it definitely would be worse to wake up as Jason Bateman than vice versa. You
Yeah.
know, so I definitely feel for that. Yeah, so he goes to his work. He's in the boardroom and he's like just so oblivious. He's acting like a total asshole and just totally like ruins the deal. Meanwhile, we got Jason Bateman. He's starring in a Lorna, a light porno for those of you who aren't familiar with the term.
Yeah.
And he's has to do a lot of unfortunate acts that he's really not interested in doing. Um, After that, I'm going to just gloss over that part. After that, I thought it was interesting when Mitch picks up. We'll call him. I guess he's fake Mitch. Well,
It's a
it's
bit
Ryan
confusing,
Reynolds.
isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
when I was watching, it's hard because you're used to one character and you try to. It's like using your left side of your brain to work out. It's tricky at sometimes to work out who's who.
right. So Ryan Reynolds, who playing Dave, uh, no, I'm sorry, Jason Bateman, who's in has Mitch in his body, goes to pick up the daughter from ballet, and he advises them to hit the bully back. I thought this was an interesting moment here. Like, where do you stand on bullying and how to tell your kids how to handle a bully?
A bully.
Yeah,
See, it's an interesting thing. Bullies. It's It's a very hard thing to answer. See, when you've got twins, I've got identical twin boys, so
mm.
um, I think most of us got bullied when we were growing up. It was sort of like a present thing, and now it's become a not so thing. Not badly, but everybody had it at some point, regardless if you're in the jock group or you're in the music group, whatever group you were in at school. You always got bullied. So I guess I feel my boys won't, if they do get bullied, try to walk away, try to be the bigger man in the situation, and be good people, because showering people with kindness is one of the best things that you can do, I think, in today's world. And karma goes a long way. So if you can be a bigger person and be the nice person in the group, that's going to be a better way to resolve or handle a bully situation. Talking about bullies, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
because basically that girl pushes the daughter down, and then
yeah.
fake Mitch is like telling her to you know kick
Well,
her
I don't
ass
do
next
any of
time.
that, I promise.
Yeah.
I went to a father night last night, and it's very hard. Well, for Father's Day, we got invited to go to daycare, all the parents, and then you had all the kids to watch a movie night, popcorn movie night. So when you're seeing a lot of kids around your kids, you become very defensive. But it's hard. You've got to let your kids be your kids, and you can't jump in too long, because that's how kids learn, I guess, what's right, what's wrong, where their boundaries are, what makes them feel bad, build their emotions, build their, so you can't be there all the time to mold your kids, I don't believe. I think they need to work out who they are and what was a bad situation and how to resolve or how to walk away from that situation. Or if they don't know what to do, then they come and talk to you, and you talk to them about what you believe is the right thing to do. And watching it from a distance, two kids took their bed, for instance, and that was a bed that we made for our kids, and they got pushed on the floor, and you watch how it evolves and what's happening. But it's very hard not to get involved as a parent. Very, very hard to stand back, especially if there's a bully. But hopefully there's always going to be a bully or two. Try to avoid the situation as much as possible. It's a very hard one as a parent.
Yeah, I mean, I have a daughter, and I feel she's a little bit before the age where she could be bullied, but it's something I worry about, and I think it is a little bit different for boys and girls as well.
Yeah,
And yeah, you want them to be strong, you want them to have, you don't want them to just like be total pushovers, but you also don't want them to resort to violence or default to violence, right? I think
yeah.
it's definitely a tricky one to navigate, but
I mean, that's something
I
we've got to navigate as parents right now, right? Because I mean, I would never hit my kids, but that's what we grew up with, was that generation of how to resolve situations.
yeah.
My dad's dad would tell him to fight back, and that's not what we do in this situation, because it's not where we should evolve. So how do you teach your kid to react in that situation when they've been bullied? Because the first thing that someone wants to do is their emotions want to let loose and come back.
Hmm.
And it's hard, because otherwise, it's a very hard situation. If you see it, I just like to exit my kids from the situation, usually just get them and move on, because some people's situations or their parent life are different to ours, and you never know what's going on behind closed doors. So it's hard to judge.
Yeah, no, it's a deep topic, and one that probably a whole season of podcasting could be dedicated to.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so fake Mitch tells the daughter to do that, and
Yep.
we are on the record saying we don't approve of that advice. So they're back at the house, and you get to see a little more chaos with the twins. I mean, just like the idea of, I feel this way with one kid. Like, my wife comes home from work, if I had my daughter all day, I'm like, it's your turn, and right, she's instantly trying to hand off both kids when he comes home.
Yep.
So when you first had the twins, do you
Yep.
remember the first time you were solo watching? I'm sure you could do it now, but the first time must have been
Uh,
overwhelming.
I was more ready for it, I think. I don't know why, but I felt comfortable being a twin parent. As soon as like when we got told we were going to have twins, we both looked at each other, and it wasn't like, oh my god. It was like, of course we're going to have twins. Of all people that would have twins, we're definitely going to be the people that have twins. So
Yeah.
yeah, all right. It was like I already knew inside of me that was going to happen without knowing. Does that make
Hmm.
sense? So I wasn't really worried about becoming a twin. But my first solo parenting, it's very easy when they're little blobs.
Yeah.
So when you've got two little babies, that's easy. You've got 3 hour windows, so they just sleep and eat and burp, and you got to change them a lot. That's basically it. So you actually got a lot of your life. If you're happy watching a TV series or going somewhere, the big thing is getting out of the house. I
Yeah.
think with parents, the first time going out of the house is the big one, because there's so many what ifs. So what if one, I don't know, vomits on itself? So what do? You need a set of the list of things you need. You need bottles, warm milk. You need, heaps and heaps of wipes in all different places, ready stash, clothes. So the going out situation was definitely a big one that was hard to get over the what ifs and come back to reality of actually getting out and having some fun. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck in home. So
Yeah.
the first time getting out was a big one for us, and going to see friends, which we didn't really get to see them because our whole time was spent with the kids.
Yeah.
But you've got to do that, is get out. But when you come home from a big day, your wife's had a big day emotionally, but you've had a big day physically. So you the transition, I always just took the kids for a walk, just put them in the pram with the dog and get out, because half an hour is an incredible reboot that a mum or a dad, anyone can have if they have away, because kids are hard when they're crying and emotional all day and you can't stop them. It's very, very tricky. It's very
Yeah.
tricky to get them back into a happy state.
Yeah. Hey, Cam, by the way, is that little microphone still plugged in?
No.
Okay. It's just coming in a little low. Maybe just like, I don't know if you could get a little bit closer or speak a little bit louder.
Sure, no worries.
Okay, cool. Um, yeah, I mean, again, like having one kid, it's tricky to get out there and pack up everything, get the bottles and everything. So doing double just seems pretty crazy. So now they're trying to convince the wife, Leslie Mann's character, that this switch happened. Actually, my favorite joke, this is a very subtle joke, but my favorite joke in this movie is when she's like, okay, fine, what's my favorite color? And he guesses red. And then the other guy's like, not a drop of red in the room. And
that was actually my favorite line as well, man.
yeah, it was so well delivered. It was
Yeah.
so quick. But it's like, try again. You know what I mean? Like, this seems like a pretty major thing to alert your wife to. Like, maybe give it one more shot before we give up on it. And they basically just like, that's it. They're like, okay, I guess we're not telling her.
It's probably the baby brain, mate. when you've got kids, baby brain is a big thing. You're so
That's true
exhausted.
too.
So
Yeah.
maybe that was a result of what happened. Which
Yeah, I mean, she kind of just writes them off, right? Like, oh, you guys are idiots.
Yeah. And my wife would. I mean, Jesus, think about that. Imagine having your best mate coming in and being like, no, he's actually mean. That's it's a pretty hard situation to try to explain to your wife, I think.
Yeah, I guess in reality, it would be a tough one. And, then your friend knows about the, the scar near her, under in her special area. And so she's going to be pretty pissed about that. And then fake Dave is just, he's such a dick at the table to the daughter. That part to me was like, all right, you're supposed to be pretending you're Dave. Like, why? Like, how could you be such an asshole at the dinner table? He doesn't know the dinner song. Huge offense there as well. But at that point, you think she'd be more suspicious. The wife would be like, okay, they just tried to tell me some weird shit about them, and now he's like being so weird and doesn't know the dinner song.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, she just kind of moves on from it. Okay,
your life's so full on, mate, that I don't think she would even consider what like.
Okay, so you're buying it. You feel like it's totally reasonable.
Oh man, that's totally just like, if my neighbor, like, I'm best mates with my neighbor. We do neighbor prank wars, right? So that's what our page blew up for as well. Is just I'll get my twins involved with pranking my neighbor. But if we swap bodies and he tried to come over and say to my wife that I'm Cam and I'm Adam and he's Cam, that's not gonna run in this house. No way. He's like the biggest Homer Simpson in the world. He drinks beer in the afternoons, and that's not me. So yeah. That would be very hard to explain it.
But then once once you start acting funny at the dinner table, then she might be like, all right, well, maybe something's going on,
Something would, but she'd probably think that I'm hiding something, I guess.
Yeah, that could be true.
What are you hiding? You got something going on? Are you not in a sexual way, but more like what do you got going on? Are you going to go and you got something that you're hiding from me? What is it? Instead of something else, I don't think you would ever think down the road that way. So I think it's spot on with the way that she's getting. She'll just shrug it off, be like, you're an idiot. When you've been married for long enough.
All right.
You act differently. I think your parent would, your wife would shrug you off as more of an idiot and just go, yeah, whatever. You just go away.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess the movie's more realistic than I thought.
I think it's pretty good.
Okay. So this 3 a.m. fake Dave taking care of the twin scene.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, so like when one baby cries, I guess they just are both wake up, like they just wake each other up, right?
Yeah, and that still happens today, mate. That's our boys wake up and have woken up their whole time. If they wake up at 5:30, that's good. It's usually 4:30 before the sun comes up every morning. So one will just you can hear him from across the room. Jackson will wake up and start going cruisy, and that's on. So, but at the baby stage, if one starts crying, the other one starts crying. But the good
Yeah,
thing about
that's
twins
tough.
is you got two hands, right? The bad thing about triplets is you don't have two hands. You would need three hands. I don't know if you're good with a foot or something, but if anything, because twins they use each other's emotions, they use each other's energy. So if one's happy, the other one's happy, and they're having fun together. If one's crying, they're so tight. Twins are so tight, especially identical twins, because we've got identical twin boys. So there's hidden. I don't know what it is, but they're linked. They're linked somehow with energy or whatever it is, and that's when two are crying, it can be very hard to stop two from crying. But it's easy because once they both stop crying, they both stop crying. But yeah, they will definitely work on each other's energy for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just think about all the times you're trying to be quiet, or like you put the baby down, and they finally go to sleep, and then they start stirring again, like, and then the other one's gonna wake up from that. Like, it must be chaos.
It could be as little as the door closing accidentally, and you would
Right.
just be so disappointed with your wife that she left an alarm accidentally in the room on, and the alarm went, or the stove made a noise, or the fridge
Yeah.
made a beep. Because once you put them asleep, it's like that tippy toe away, so you get that calm time for 2 hours or so. It's that's the
Yeah.
time that you wish for as a as a parent, and then as it goes on, it never gets easier. It just changes. You think that terrible twos is hard. Terrible twos is nothing compared to threes. And then threes aren't anything compared to fours. And then fours aren't anything compared to fives because you've got all different types of realities. Their emotions are coming in. It's different. But back to the movie, it's bang on how they do it because managing two kids at once is hard work. I don't know how they do it at daycare. Beyond me. Don't even take me there. I couldn't even. But being a
Yeah,
parent at
that's
home,
that's
it's
4-1.
nuts.
That's 4-1 to daycare.
Yeah. Wait, is it?
Oh,
Maybe. Yeah. I
here it
think
is in
so.
the States. Yeah, Jersey, it's 4-1. Yeah. So I assume it's a little bit exaggerated when they're trying to just like unalive themselves the whole time, and they're throwing knives and they're putting their hands in the blenders and stuff like that. But he's obviously way over his head.
Yeah, but it's so true, mate. Honestly, you got to watch everything in your house. We put plugs in our sockets. We had, funnily enough, we had good kids, right? So we didn't have. I was a crazy one when I was growing up. I was everywhere. I ran away with my dog twice, opened the front door, and then went walking with my dog at 2 years old with a pooey nappy. Like I thought that's what I would get with twins, and I just got very, very lucky that my kids. I don't know if discipline's the right word, but they knew what was wrong. So if it's don't walk past this line out the front when they understood, they wouldn't. But all those small little things, they would get a knife. If you've got them sitting on the bench and you've accidentally got a knife there, 100% they will go for that knife. So you've got to be aware of everything. Even low tables with smashable things, we had to take them all out. You've got to redesign your house
Yeah.
because that is, if you've got one, you can keep your eyes on it. But two, you're sitting there cross-eyed going, like they're everywhere, especially when they're
Yeah.
not in the same room or you leave
Yeah.
for a second. They're everywhere. It's tiring.
Yeah. I mean, my daughter's getting to that age where she seems to want to do the thing that you don't want her to do in the room. She'll find the one thing you don't want her to do and not play with the things that she's sanctioned to play with. So I can imagine with two.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, he doesn't know what to do, and he ends up just pouring milk on their heads, and then I guess we assume the kids get help somehow, but I don't think that usually works. Um, but yeah, so obviously fake Dave's acting pretty weird. Again, I think it's pretty clear he's Mitch and not Dave, but I suppose that's far fetched. And so the wife, feels like it's been going on for a long time. And then we have
It
this kind
should
of
be obvious. It should be
yeah,
obvious by that stage if he doesn't know how to parent. Because once you're a twin parent, like we were military in this house, not in a bad way. Like there's rules. You go to bed at this time, both together. There's no like push it past. This is why parents don't want to go out. Twin parents didn't want to go out because when you get in a routine, routine is just key as a especially as a twin parent. If you can get them in a routine to go to sleep at I don't know 6:30 at night, and then the next if you go out to a friend's birthday and you're out later and the routine gets thrown, your next week is chaos.
Yeah.
And if you've got a guy that's coming in and he doesn't know how to manage the kids in the kitchen, and the kids are trying to put their hands in a blender and picking up knives, like you know something's up, or you'll be like, get out of the house, there's something going on with you.
Right. Yeah. I think the twins in the sink covered in a gallon of milk might be the key there. But
Sure.
anyway, so and then we get this kind of heartfelt scene where the wife is kind of confiding in fake Mitch, and she said, she's saying that Dave has given everything for his career, and he is not happy, and it's hurting the marriage. And I think that this
Yeah.
is again very relatable as far as just not having your priorities straight when you become a family man, and you
Yeah.
do have to. It happens all the time, right? People dedicate their lives to their careers, and then their family life suffers because of it, and you kind of have to pick which one's going to become a priority for you.
This is what I was mentioning before, or trying to mention before, about that work-life balance, because it does. This is where your work-life balance needs to be a big thing, right? Because I know what you want to try to do. I'm running a business and I'm trying to, build the business so we can have a better life and all those type of things. But within that, either you're sacrificing time for money to make your life better, but then time is so important. That's the main importance. Time. If you talk to anyone that's very wealthy, they would exchange $4 billion of their income to be my age again, for
Right.
instance.
Yeah.
So money isn't really that important. It's time and what's really important at the back end of it. And that's, I guess, where her situation, I had to come to the realization of that. And I purchased, I built a business and I was dedicating too much time. And I purchased my old man's share of the company, and then I had to build it from ground zero up. But I had to put a lot more energy in. And this year was the year that we decided, because I'd lost so much time, like losing a Saturday every week is 52 Saturdays a year, which is 52 days that you could have spent with your kids doing something, right? So
Yeah.
I'm big on math, and that's a big thing that we had to justify. So for us, we were like, okay, well, every single month, whether it's 3 days, we take a long weekend, or we go and do something as a family. We don't just sit at home and mow the lawns and sit on the couch or whatever. We go and do something. So I guess that's why our page resonated for a lot of people, because we did a lot of those things. We went out and we just filmed our normal life, and chaos and carnage that happens with your family, well, especially with twins for us, was very entertaining for a lot of people on DadTwinTips. But that's the best thing you can do, is spend time, I think. And that's what her reality in the movie was trying to explain, that I know he's trying to be this person, but you need to have a work-life balance to make that work. Otherwise, time's going to go, and you're probably going to break up, or you're going to separate away from each other, because what's more important? Is it your career or is it your family? At the
Yeah.
back end of it, I think it's your family. So
No,
I
absolutely.
understand where she's coming from, and that's a hard
Yeah.
conversation to have. But you need to have a conversation like that with your wife or your husband, and you need to talk a lot. Communication is key. Teamwork makes the dream work. That's regardless if you've got 1 kid, 5 kids, 10 kids. You need to speak with each other and be on the same level. And if that's hurting her, it needs to be a serious conversation about what's more important. Definitely.
Yeah. And heartbreaking, but fascinating to be able to hear your wife like very candidly speak about your relationship when she thinks you're not in the room, right? I think that was interesting. Um, and then they start to kind of hit their groove here, because then it's like, okay, Dave, fake Dave, starts to realize that, okay, actually, like if I put in some hard work and if I spend time with my family, it could actually be rewarding, right? Like he has that moment in the car when the daughter says he loves him, or she loves him, and that like that makes everything else worth it, right? Like that makes like the late nights and the you
Mate,
know
I was just going to say, that is the one. Like, you can have 99% of chaos, but if your kid looks up at you and says he loves you or wants a cuddle or a kiss or whatever at 9, being a parent, there's nothing like being a parent. It's the
yeah,
most amazing thing. But back to that what we were just talking about previously, I personally don't think that that's healthy. Her talking about the problem that she should be talking to her husband about, not about her friend, because that's where I personally have actually seen relationships, close relationships, end because they don't actually talk amongst each other. So I don't think that personally is the right way to resolve a situation. I know she had a lot on her chest, but maybe I don't know if he was listening in the movie, but that's something that you need to discuss in private. And you need to talk with each other in private about that situation and work through it together, not ask for other people's opinions on what's happening under your own house.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's a good way. It's even
Yeah.
if they're their best friend, it can definitely drive something if he found out, why didn't you talk to me about it? We're meant to be a team here. That's why we got married. So,
I mean, especially a guy like Mitch, you got to figure that it's getting back to him, right?
of course, it's going to get back to them. And that's never
Yeah.
going to, like, if your best friend's going to hold that from you, then is he really your best mate?
Right.
Even if he says it's sworn to secrecy, they're the type of people that you're going to rely on. I mean, I've only got probably 5 best mates on my hand that I trust like the front because they're the ones that, will do anything for me and I'll do anything for them. But when you're talking about your own wife, kids are okay because they're crazy, but your own wife behind your back to anybody, even and especially a male,
Yeah.
because that's worse, even because you're basically asking for their help or their answer to the situation to resolve it without talking to your husband about what's going on. You don't need to talk about your problems under your house. Everyone's got them. You need to speak with one another and have each other's back. And it's hard. Being a parent, being married is hard. And that's where you have to make sure that you're a team. Otherwise, it's not going to work from the beginning. Yeah. You need to talk about how you want to bring up your kids. That's a big one. What you see for them, if you want them in high school or you want them in a private school or a college or whatever you call it over in your country. Sorry, but yeah, it's about teamwork and being on the same page. If you're not on the same page, then it's not going to work.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think a lot of these issues could have been resolved if they had a conversation. Unfortunately, Dave kept skipping dialogue night, so that might have been part of the issue there. But they do. Okay, so they start to hit their groove, right? And then they actually want to stay in each other's lives longer. Dave is enjoying being Mitch and not having any responsibilities, and Mitch is enjoying kind of actually proving to people he's not a quitter and having some ambition. And I guess now he's a lawyer somehow.
Yeah.
Also, you'd think at some point people would notice that he doesn't know anything about law because Dave is apparently a really good lawyer, but he's enjoying working on that merger case. And so they decide, hey, let's just be each other for a little while longer. Once the I like that. I enjoyed the scene when fake Dave is like, hey, they want more money, they're just waiting for it, and then I don't even know what that merger was about, but he basically wins the day for them.
Like it always happens because it's a different. Yeah, I don't know how to answer that one, but it's just a different way of thinking about the situation, which resolves it in a different way, which other
right.
people
Yeah, it's I have this wacky background that none of you have, so and that's the key here. Which
that's the difference.
Right.
Point of difference.
Right. And then fake. We have fake Mitch. He's on the date. He's enjoying that, and then he sees the butterfly that reminds him of his daughter. The last thing you want to be thinking about when you're in that type of situation, but it causes him to. They both sort of realize at the same time, actually, I don't like this life, and I want my other life. I want to go back to. Well, Mitch realizes he didn't really earn the life that Dave's getting awarded for, and Dave is realizing he misses that life that seemed hard but was worth having. Also, I guess Dave gets made partner that night. Right, they're just throwing a partner dinner from that. After he saw, I don't know how being a lawyer works, but it seemed pretty quick that he had this whole award ceremony the night of that merger.
Of course.
So that was.
I guess when you're talking about being homesick, my wife gets homesick after 3 hours on date night. If we go out to dinner, she's like, "I miss the kids." I'm probably a little bit more selfish. I'm quite happy to have a day or two running solo without the kids. But when you've got kids, if you get any, if you see a parent, I guess, out, or if the worst thing about parents, when we have a date night, we end up looking at photos. That's the reality. We end up looking at pictures of our kids that we've taken because we already miss them. So when he sees, I'm missing your wife. So when you've got a good house and a good bond and you come home, there's nothing more amazing. It's sort of like having a dog. You come home, there's nothing more rewarding than your dog. If you've only got a dog in your life, how they've been waiting for you all day and they're so happy to see you. It's just like that when you have kids. And I get that every single day. When I walk in the door at about 5:15 in the afternoon, there's nothing more rewarding than giving my kids both a big cuddle. They run to me, say, "Dad, missed you. How was your day?" Da da da. Whatever well, it's never about me. It's always about them and what they've coloured and what they've drawn. And giving my wife a kiss. When you've got a nice household to come home to, I can see why he wants that life back, because he did. And you've got to think about it a lot, because you might forget how good you actually have it. And that was probably his realization, to realize how good life really is. Even though it's chaos, it's the best life you could possibly ask for, the one that you've already got.
Yeah, and I think that's really part of it, is he probably hadn't really taken stock in it in a while and really appreciated it. And then he rushes to that dinner. He kisses his wife in front of everybody, and then they just leave, right? And I don't know what happened at that dinner after that, but it was probably a little bit awkward and weird.
Yeah. I think that definitely would be. That'd be definitely, people would be discussing that for a little while, I think.
Yeah, and then it was confusing because he goes home, they pee in the fountain again, and then he goes home. I guess maybe the wife was already asleep. Like, you think she'd be like, "Hey, what was that all about?"
Yeah.
But they just glossed over that. But yeah, they go to the fountain, they pee for a long time. Eventually, they figure out how to make the wish, and all is right in the world, and they kind of have this newfound, appreciation for life.
Yeah.
Now, one of the discussion questions was, did Mitch actually grow or change at all? Like, I feel like Dave had a really big arc, and Mitch really was the same person at the end.
Yeah, because he hasn't accepted in his life that that's where he wants to be. He's quite happy being the party animal, I guess.
Yeah, he's still kind of the same bro. I mean, he goes to his dad's wedding. We didn't really get into that, but there was also a nice kind of like, troubled relationship between father and son that eventually, again, hearing something candidly that you might not hear normally, like maybe like their dad does like you more than you think he does, or is more proud of you than you think he is. And he eventually goes to the wedding. So I thought that was a nice moment.
And maybe he needed that to be able to evolve into a family man, because he didn't have that from his dad. So there's always reasons. Everyone's got everyone's dealing with their own shit, as they say, if I'm allowed to say that. So regardless of what, life isn't perfect. So his life, there'll be a reason why he's probably rebelling and having some fun and doesn't want to settle down. Because, I mean, have a look at it. His dad, wasn't it? How many times did his dad get married?
I think it was like 3 or 4, yeah.
3 or 4. So he probably looks at that and goes, well, I don't want to end up like that. And then I've got a best mate that's got twins. He doesn't get any lifestyle. So why would you want that when you're having a ball? I mean, he's showing in the bar all the beautiful women that he's sleeping with, and he's, it's pretty hard to get out of that dopamine hit, I think.
Wow, I never realized this, but that's certainly his character, is that he is the way he is because his dad is, going from marriage to marriage. And I've seen this movie a few times. I never really considered that before.
Yeah. That's more than likely what it is. And then if he got the clarification, like if he finally went and had a conversation with his dad, it might have resolved things. Sometimes you just need a chat and to get something off your chest to make you feel better. And then, to vent out to whoever it is. It might be your dad, your best friend, whatever. And then once you've got that on the table, you can move forward. And there's a lot of people that hold a lot of things in and they don't know how to get them out. But that's something, that's probably the reason why he was there's always a reason why people are who they are. So, and looking at that movie, that's watching his dad get married 3 or 4 times. It's 100% going to be a reason why he's having a party animal and doesn't want to settle down. Why would he want to get married 3 or 4 times?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I come from a divorced household myself, and I think it definitely kind of shaped how I saw relationships earlier on.
Me too.
Okay. You wake up, you're you, right? And then you wake up the next morning in some single dude's body. How are you spending your day?
How am I spending my day? That's a good one. To be honest, I'd probably start with the night, like whiskeys. I'd probably start the day with a whiskey, and then I wouldn't worry about too much. I definitely wouldn't be going to work.
Oh
I'd be
yeah.
working out probably where the first 100 golf balls I can hit at a driving range to start the day. And then I'd be going for a drive down the beach and having no stress, no phone. I wouldn't even answer my phone to my business. I'd just drop out and get some sun rays, relax, take in the world, and breathe for a second, I think.
Yeah.
Take a
I
second to
mean,
breathe.
yeah, I probably would do very little, right? I think I just want to like that's why he's kind of like on the toilet reading. Like you would really want to do as little as possible. I probably would want to get a nice buzz going too, because you can't. I don't drink like I used to, but you can't really be drunk and take care of a kid. Well, you can, but you
No,
shouldn't. And then you being hungover the next day and wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning sucks too. So it's like you really can't do it just for those reasons. So
it's
I
more that
think,
society is so strict on when to have a drink and what to do with your life and how life's meant to be. You're meant to go through a 9 to 5. And if I had a time where I didn't have to think about anything, geez, I look at some people that, like my wife, for instance, she's full time study, but she's got a lot of extra time. And I'm like, far out. If I could have that time while the kids are at daycare, what would I do with my time? Because she's always asking me to do something for myself. And that's what I said at the very start of the podcast is I feel that, I don't know if it's just myself or I talk to other guys, and it's sort of the same situation. We work and our life gets changed and we forget about who we are. And who are we when we're a parent after we've had kids? Like, how do we work out who we are again? Because there's a big transition. Same with when you go into retirement. My dad's gone into retirement and he doesn't know how to retire. So I feel like being a parent, you forget who you are, and that's that day in the life of him, having relaxed, and a chill. It's working out who you are and what you're going to do again. Like, what do you really want to do? It's sort of like having that time as a retiree again. What would you really do? I don't know. I might go fishing. I might take a rod and relax and get a boat and go out to the middle of the ocean and do nothing. I feel like most guys just want to chill and a bit of silence.
that's what I'd be doing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Morally questionable questions.
sure.
Um, if you're if you wake up as Mitch, is it okay to hook up with a girl?
No. Morally, no. 100% no. This is the big one, right? How much do you love your wife? That's what it comes down to. Just because you're in
Yeah.
another body doesn't mean you're going to forget, because anything you do, even with you, if you're in another body, it's definitely not acceptable. It's not
Yeah.
acceptable to flirt. There's all different types of things. You're going to be committed 100% to your wife if you're a good team, you're not going to do something secretly just because you're going to get away with it. So short answer, no, morally, it's 100% not acceptable. Um, and I don't think I would, because there's been, like, when I go out for a boys' night, there's females around, and I wouldn't wreck what I have inside my house and my beautiful family for whatever. I'm very content with where I am with my life. So there's no one or no thing that's really going to change that. We love each other unconditionally, and it's beautiful. So there's nothing that I'm not unhappy about to make a bad decision about that, I guess. To make a bad decision to wreck the beautiful life that we have. It's
I
not worth
agree.
anything. So um, and then if you're having bad situations like she is, back in the movie where she talks to him, that's dangerous. That's where you might want to do something when she's out on a girls' night, for instance, because she's not getting what she needs to at home. That he's that she's there's a length that they've been pushed away from each other because he's trying to commit on his work, and there's always a situation like that. I worked in the mines in Australia, and we try to fly in, fly out. I met my wife in the mines. She was a flight coordinator. I worked on the islands, and then we came back, and then we tried to do fly in, fly out, which was a big hit. We did 4 months, and we came to a realization that we couldn't do it. Otherwise, we'd break up. So that was sort of a situation where was it the money? And we would probably try to make it work, and the money was incredible. Like, it was very, very big money. And money isn't important. Like, what do you really want? Well, we'll find something else. So and that's what we did. And that's why, otherwise, if you're not ready, you probably might end up doing something stupid. like trying to sleep with somebody. Yeah, if
Yeah.
you're not in a good situation at home, you could have the devil on your side to make you do something that you shouldn't.
And for the record, I do agree. It's morally wrong to hook up with somebody else if you're in
Yeah.
somebody else's body. And I'm not saying that just because my wife is listening as well, as I'm sure you're not either. Okay, so favorite parenting moment from the movie?
Uh, just the biggest parenting scene. You're so exhausted that when she comes in and tries to, it's just a funny opening scene where she tried to bring up the bum into him. He's like, don't bring that bum up in here all blazing hot or whatever it was. Where she tries to bring the bum in. I just think that's funny because either she's tired and exhausted, and it happens when you're a parent. When you're single and you don't have kids, you can have fun and do whatever you like all the time. It's like you racer or rabbits or whatever it is. But then when you get kids, it's different. So you just want to have a good night's sleep, and that's a good parenting thing to be like, leave me alone. You're sleeping on your side of the bed. We need a good night's sleep tonight because tomorrow's a big day.
Yeah.
But then back to just the funny parenting moment is when he leaves the kids and the kids are playing with the knives and the blenders. Like, it's happened in my life. I had a snow cone maker and I blinked, wasn't on, but still had the blades. Little kid just put his hand in, one of my boys, and it cut his finger. So it happens all the time. You've got to watch them 24/7. So
Yeah.
that type of thing just resonates. There's so much it resonates. Even just walking in the morning and trying to feed two at once, everything just brings back memories that are forgotten of that time, because it's a blur when you're a parent. At the first year and a half, you probably know, it's just a blur. Well, it's not for you at the moment, but it will be.
Oh yeah. No, it's been a blur. It's flying by too. I agree. I really like that the fake Dave trying to navigate things with the twins in the middle of the night. And I really liked more on a more touching note. I liked when the daughter told, even though it wasn't really Dave, the daughter said, I love you, because she felt
Yeah,
supported by by the dad. I thought that was nice.
that's a beautiful moment, and you'll get that. You'll get that
Yeah.
a lot with your girl, and that's what grows the bond where no one's going to touch her.
Yeah.
That's where the bullying thing, you might do something stupid or
Yeah.
work out what to do.
Yeah. All right. Overall thoughts on the movie?
Very relatable, 100%. And after talking to you more, diving into the movie, there was a lot more hidden things I didn't realize there was. Why is a single man's life is a big thing? Why that his parent? Why, if you're not ready to settle down, it's hilarious. It's good fun. It's probably the closest movie I could say relates to being a twin parent. So if you are a twin parent or going to be a twin parent or want to see what it's like, that is 100% relatable to what it's like every day. But partnership, teamwork is key in that situation for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very funny. I think I think the character of Mitch will probably be canceled in 2024, but overall, it's a great movie, and there was a lot more to it. Yeah, when you really look at it through this lens, there's a lot more
Yeah,
parenting and father son dynamics and husband wife dynamics. So 10 out of 10 would recommend if anyone hasn't seen it yet.
definitely.
Cam, where can people go if they want to connect with you or learn more about you? Anything you want to plug?
Sure. Like I said, this isn't my full time thing. This is my first time podcasting with you, Anthony, ever. So I haven't done it. This is my very first podcast. I'm just a normal dad, twin parent, family man that's showing relatable content on all three platforms. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and it's just Dad Twin Tips. I'm a dad, I've got twins, and sometimes I'll throw a tip in to help you out. So it's just Dad Twin Tips, and we love doing it. We love sharing, relatable content. And if anyone's got a question, feel free to hit me up, and I'll give you an honest opinion. If your kids aren't sleeping through night, I've got what we did to help out. Hit me a line. I'm more than happy to help out, and that's why there's no book on how to be a twin parent. It's very hard to be a twin parent because there's not many people around you that are twins or have twins. So if you have someone that you can reach out to and ask for a bit of clarity, a bit of help, a bit of advice, I'm happy to share what we did and what we do in our house, and you can see what we've done with our family because we've put it all over the socials. So, and just be good people and take care of your family.
Awesome. Well, I will link to that in the show notes. Cameron Remy, ladies and gentlemen. Cameron, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, mate. Really appreciate the time.